Very interesting there. And of course, the calls for more protection for journalists across the continent. We will continue to push for it. And just a reminder that it's not just here in Africa, even in different parts of the world. If you remember the Jamal Khashoggi story, that of course, still made a lot of headlines and still would continue to talk about it. But of course, rest in peace to Mr. Zogo. Now let's move away from there and move to South Africa now, where its embattled power utility, ESKOM, has done a swift rollback, saying it will not be implementing permanent load shedding to provide more consistency to the public. Residents in the country were up in arms over comments made by ESKOM chairperson Mpo Makwana that permanent load shedding would have to be implemented to allow ESKOM to conduct necessary maintenance on its power stations and to provide some consistency to South Africans affected by blackouts.
But ESKOM CEO Andre de Ruyter yesterday cleared up the apparent confusion, saying that permanent load shedding would not be possible because ESKOM cannot guarantee that the power outages will remain at low levels. Conversations about ESKOM and the challenges that they've had, especially as regards the load shedding situation, have been ongoing for the longest time. Of course, we did get the resignation of Andre de Ruyter, which was not to kick in last year, but of course will be kicking in by March of 2023. But joining us now to discuss South Africa's ongoing energy crisis is energy expert Ted Blom. Good morning, Ted, and thank you very much for joining us.
Hi, good morning to you.
All right, the ESKOM CEO and the board chairperson are differing on the course of action relating to load shedding going forward. What seems clear, though, is that the load shedding is here to stay. So what are your thoughts on the permanent load shedding being a reality, and is there maybe some validity to the chairman's statements?
Yes, look, it's a very difficult situation, but seemingly the board has decided that they're going to introduce permanent load shedding at level 2 to 4 for the next 2 years, and with it being increased as and when the system demands that there needs to be extra stability. So I think the correct message is between the chairman and the CEO. And you need to understand that there's no love lost between the chairman and the CEO, because the CEO accused the chairman and the minister involved of lack of political support when he was attacked by another minister insofar as his loyalty to the state and he's causing insurrection in the state is concerned.
Well, I mean, like you said, there's no love lost between both of them. But I want to ask, there's seemingly still a little bit of confusion, in the power sector in South Africa. It seems like there is some secrecy as to what exactly the reasons behind this, complete, breakdown of power infrastructure and, availability of power to South Africans. Is there any truth as to what the government says and what ESKOM says? And do South Africans trust that the government and ESKOM are being honest with them as the reasons behind the load shedding?
There seems to be a problem with credibility here. I was sort of biased towards believing that there shouldn't be third force activities in terms of making all the power available onto the grid and giving their best shot. And the reason I say that is that, look, there's been a third force behind ESKOM and this whole green movement for quite a while. And that was confirmed when Biden said that, ESKOM had agreed to close down all our coal power stations, et cetera, which is, anathema to our economy, because we rely on coal for 80% of our power. The reason why I'm now beginning to distrust what ESKOM is saying is because there's a viral video going around showing that one of our big dams, which is a hydro system, is in fact has disengaged the hydro and is overflowing at a massive rate. So there's no reason why that dam shouldn't be generating power. And at the same time, we are sitting with level, as we said now, level 4 load shedding. So no, there is some problem there, because, and I've asked ESKOM, I've tweeted them, and they haven't replied, which is typical. They don't. There's no love lost between ESKOM and myself either. So yes, I believe that there's a credibility gap, and the more I'm told that ESKOM is not doing its best efforts. And in fact, there's a court action which will be launched today, challenging the minister and ESKOM as to why they're not using their best efforts to keep the grid stable and to stop the load shedding.
All right, let's talk about the Department of Energy and the public enterprises. They certainly have a big role to play in this energy crisis. Would you say that we've heard enough from those ministers in terms of the solutions going forward?
No, I mean, I think the ministries have been remiss in action, or missing in action. And again, there's a bun fight going on between the Minister of Mineral Affairs and the President, because the Minister of Mineral Affairs is ex the coal industry, and I've known him for since 1990, and he is pro-coal, and because his constituency originally came from the mining sector, and the President, who also comes from the mining sector, but seemingly is in the pockets of the globalists and the renewable lobby, and he's in fact. Yesterday, he sent out a false message. He was addressing an audience, and he said his first sentence was he had consulted with his global compatriots, and he categorically will not do anything to close down the coal sector. That was his first sentence. I would have thought he would have paused or interposed some sentences before he said the next statement. The very next statement, he said, but in reality, coal stations are old and they need to be closed down as soon as possible. Now, if that isn't speaking with a forked tongue, then I don't know what is. And the fact that his audience didn't pick it up and boo him, I also can't understand.
Well, you know, I think you can once again speak about the South African government itself. You know, President Cyril Ramaphosa last week cancelled a trip to Davos to deal with the energy issue. But, you know, till now, the nation is yet to hear from him. You know, do you think his office is providing sufficient leadership? Do you think his office understands, you know, how South Africans are dealing with this and what this means to South African economy and to the people?
Look, I normally stay out of the political arena because, you know, if you mix yourselves with those politicians, you end up getting burnt one way or the other. And I've been burnt by Ramaphosa before when I made certain allegations, and he came back, not just in his private capacity, he came back via the presidential website and attacked me. But the bottom line is, given that he's now accepted responsibility and had responsibility from a political point of view for the war room and ESKOM when he was deputy president, and now as president, directly and indirectly, he's chairing the so-called new committee, the ESKOM, which is now the new war room to sort out ESKOM. The fact of the matter is, I don't think all hands are on deck, and I think, as is in this, will come out in this court case, that a lot of the action that has been mooted is totally ineffective, and in fact, effective actions that should be on the table are being ignored.
On the final note, I'll just quickly ask, do you think that so far, the way that the energy issues have been handled would greatly impact the credibility of the ANC?
Absolutely. I mean, the ANC is at war with itself anyway, politically, between the old factions and the new factions. But given that the ANC had a policy of catered deployment, and that they have done that excessively since 2002 when they took political control over ESKOM by converting it from an independent organization to a state-owned entity. There's no doubt in my mind, and the fact that Chancellor House, the ANC investment arm, was forced down the throat of ESKOM as a BE partner on the new power station projects, there's no doubt in my mind that the ANC is very culpable as far as the disastrous state of ESKOM is concerned.
All right. Ted Blom, thank you so much for your time this morning. We, of course, will continue to follow up, and see how South Africa deals with these issues in the 2023 year. And, of course, we're looking forward to speaking with you again.
Sure.